The desert wind howled like a ghost from my past, whipping sand against the windshield of our rented SUV as we barreled down Interstate 40 toward the heart of New Mexico. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles white, because in that split second when Alex's voice cracked over the classic rock station, "Dad, I think I'm gay," the world I'd built on fragile foundations shattered like the rearview mirror I'd cracked back in Ohio. Nothing about this trip was supposed to be a confessional. It was meant to mend a rift my divorce had carved between us, father and son in name only, step by bloodless bond. But now every mile marker felt like a countdown to the truth I'd been too afraid to face, that the boy I'd raised from awkward teen to wide-eyed man was carrying a secret heavier than the atlas spread across the dashboard. I'd married his mother, Elena, 12 years ago in a whirlwind courthouse ceremony in upstate New York, chasing the dream of a ready-made family after my own crumbled under the weight of a loveless first marriage. Alex was 10 then, all gangly limbs and defiant stares, the kind of kid who built forts in the living room and dreamed of escaping our sleepy suburb for the wild unknown. Elena and I made it work for a while. Barbecues in the backyard, soccer games where I'd cheer louder than anyone, late-night talks about girls that always left him squirming. But love erodes like limestone under acid rain. And when Elena confessed her affair with her yoga instructor 3 years back, the ink on our dissolution papers was still wet before she jetted off to a fresh start in Seattle, leaving me with custody of Alex and a mortgage that mocked my architect's precision. "Pull over," Alex had muttered an hour ago, his voice barely audible over Bruce Springsteen's gravelly anthem about Born to Run hearts. I did, tires crunching gravel on the shoulder, the engine ticking like a bomb in the sudden silence. He stared out at the endless red rock mesas, his fingers twisting the hem of his faded band tee, some indie group I'd never heard of, while I waited, heart pounding, for the words that would redefine us both. When they came, soft and trembling, they landed like a punch to the gut. "I've known for years, Jordan." But saying it out loud, it scares the hell out of me. Jordan, not Dad. He'd stopped calling me that after the divorce, a small rebellion that stung more than I admitted. I reached across the console, my hand hovering before settling on his knee, a gesture born of instinct, not calculation. "Hey kid," I said, my throat tight, "you're safe with me. Always." But even as I spoke, doubt clawed at my chest. What if my reassurances were lies? What if the man who'd fixed his bike tires and taught him to drive stick shift couldn't bridge this chasm? We'd planned this road trip months ago, a cross-country odyssey from our cramped Queens apartment to the Pacific Coast, a graduation gift for his high school send-off before he headed to UC Berkeley in the fall. 5,000 miles of Americana. Diners with pie that defied gravity, motels with neon signs flickering like faulty memories, national parks where the stars pressed down like accusatory eyes. It was supposed to be our reset button, a chance to reclaim the bond Elena's absence had frayed. I'd mapped it meticulously, Route 66 detours, ghost towns for photo ops, playlists curated to his eclectic tastes mixed with my old-school favorites. But now, with his confession hanging in the air like exhaust fumes, every landmark loomed as a potential confessor, demanding I confront not just his truth, but mine. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in bruised purples, I restarted the engine and eased back onto the highway. Alex fiddled with the radio, landing on a station crooning folk tunes about lost lovers and open roads. "Tell me more," I ventured, eyes fixed on the blacktop unspooling ahead. He hesitated, then exhaled a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. "It's not just that. There's this guy at school, Riley. We hooked up last summer, and it was real. But then he ghosted me, said it was a phase. Broke something in me, you know." His words sliced through the hum of tires, raw and unfiltered, painting pictures I hadn't prepared for. Stolen kisses in the bleachers, whispered promises under stadium lights, the sting of rejection sharper than any playground bully. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Memories of my own fumbling youth bubbling up. Nights questioning why the cheerleaders left me cold while the quarterback's easy grin lingered in my dreams. I'd buried those thoughts deep, married women to prove them wrong, built a life on blueprints of normalcy. But Alex? He was braver, or maybe just younger, unscarred by the world's verdict. We hit Albuquerque as night fully claimed the sky, neon canyons rising from the flatlands like fever dreams. I pulled into a roadside motel, the kind with vacancy signs buzzing like angry hornets, and we hauled our duffels to adjoining rooms, his a nod to privacy, mine a shield against the intimacy suddenly thickening the air. Over greasy burgers at the attached diner, fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows on his freckled cheeks, he opened up in fits and starts. Mom knew, sort of. She found my browser history once, didn't say a word, just hugged me tighter. Elena, with her artist soul and fleeting affections, had always been the emotional anchor. I'd been the steady one, the fixer of leaks and egos. Hearing her silent support now felt like a betrayal, a secret alliance I'd been excluded from. Why not me? I asked, voice rougher than intended. Alex met my gaze, green eyes mirroring the vulnerability I'd hidden for decades. I thought you'd hate me. Like, what if it made you see me different? Or worse, what if it made you remember stuff about yourself? His question hung there, a mirror cracked but not shattered, forcing me to see the reflections I'd avoided. That night, as I lay on the sagging mattress, the walls thin enough to hear his restless tossing, sleep evaded me. The road ahead stretched infinite, a ribbon of asphalt promising redemption or ruin. Little did I know, by the time we crested the Sierras, our truths would entwine in ways that blurred the lines of family, forging something fiercer, more fragile, love, uncharted and unapologetic. The next morning dawned with a clarity that mocked our inner storms, the motel's coffee bitter as regret on my tongue. Alex emerged from his room, backpack slung over one shoulder, his smile tentative but genuine, an olive branch extended across the breakfast table. Route 66 today? The real deal, with the old bridges and ghost signs. I grinned, the first real one since his confession, and tossed him the keys. You drive first leg. Show me what you've got. As he slid behind the wheel, the engine roaring to life under his confident grip, I watched him from the passenger seat. The way his fingers drummed the dash in rhythm with an indie playlist, the subtle flex of his jaw when a curve demanded focus. He was 18 now, no longer the boy who'd cried over scraped knees, but a man on the cusp, his body lean from track meets and late-night runs, auburn hair catching the light like autumn leaves. Pride swelled in my chest, mingled with something sharper, unnamed, a protectiveness laced with admiration that quickened my pulse. We veered off the interstate onto the historic ribbon of Route 66, the Mother Road, as it was dubbed, a serpentine path through forgotten towns where time clung like dust to the fenders. First stop, a crumbling adobe trading post in Tucumcari, its shelves stocked with turquoise jewelry and faded postcards promising dreams deferred. Alex wandered the aisles, fingers trailing over silver cuffs etched with Navajo symbols, his eyes distant. Ever think about getting something like this? He asked, holding up a bracelet that caught the light. I shrugged, leaning against a display of Route 66 mugs. Nah, too flashy for these hands. But you? Wear it. Mark your path. He slipped it on, the metal cool against his wrist, and in that moment, under the watchful eyes of sepia-toned photos of long-gone travelers, I saw him not as my stepson, but as Alex, vibrant, seeking, deserving of every adornment life could offer. Lunch was at a diner in Santa Rosa, where the waitress called us, you boys, with a wink that eased the knot in my gut. Over green chili cheeseburgers that burned going down, conversation flowed freer, skirting the edges of his revelation. So, Berkeley, I prompted, wiping salsa from my chin. Big city, big changes. You ready? He nodded, enthusiasm sparking in his voice. Yeah, the art program's killer. And there's this queer alliance group. Thought I'd check it out. The word queer landed softly, normalized in his mouth, a flag planted in the territory of self. I raised my coffee mug in mock toast. To new beginnings. And to you being braver than I ever was at your age. He paused, fork midway to his plate, searching my face. Were you ever like this, Jordan? Questioning. The diner noise faded, the clatter of plates, the sizzle of fryers, leaving only the thrum of honesty between us. I took a breath, the air thick with the scent of cumin and courage. Once or twice. Buried it deep. Regret that now. His smile was small, but it bridged the gap, a silent pact, no more burials. As afternoon bled into evening, we pushed west toward the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, the land rising in jagged welcome. The SUV climbed switchbacks, tires hugging curves that mirrored the twists in my soul. Alex pointed out hawks wheeling overhead, their cries echoing our unspoken fears. Freedom looks like that, he said, voice wistful. I glanced at him, the dashboard glow softening his features, and felt a surge of something profound. Love, yes, but threaded with longing, a desire to shield him from the cruelties I'd endured, to walk beside him into whatever dawn awaited. By the time we crested a pass, the valley below a tapestry of twilight shadows, the weight of his truth had lightened, shared now between us like a sacred map. But the road, ever unforgiving, had more confessions in store, ones that would test the very foundations of who we thought we were. Sunrise over the petrified forest painted the hood of the SUV in strokes of rose and amber, as if the desert itself were an artist awakening to our intrusion. We'd risen early from our Santa Fe motel, the adobe walls still echoing with the night's half-formed dreams, and now, with Alex at the wheel again, we plunged into Arizona's Badlands, a labyrinth of fossilized logs and hoodoos that whispered of eons lost. His confession from yesterday lingered like the faint scent of sage on the breeze, not a burden anymore, but a catalyst, urging us toward uncharted dialogues. Ever wonder why we bury parts of ourselves? He asked suddenly, navigating a hairpin turn with the ease of youth. I leaned back, watching petrified trunks streak by like ancient sentinels. Survival, I guess. The world's not always kind to the whole truth. He glanced at me, eyes sharp. But what if sharing it sets you free? His words hung, a challenge wrapped in vulnerability, and I realized this trip was no mere vacation. It was excavation, unearthing bones we'd both long interred. We parked at a trailhead overlook, the vastness of the painted desert unfurling below like a watercolor bled dry. Slipping on hiking boots and water packs, we descended into the silence, boots crunching over rainbow-hued badlands that shifted from crimson to lavender underfoot. Alex led the way, his stride purposeful, pausing to snap photos with his phone, close-ups of fractured earth, wide shots of endless sky. This place feels honest, he said, crouching to trace a fossil's curve. No pretending what it is. I knelt beside him, our shoulders brushing, the contact electric in the still air. Like you, I replied, the words slipping out before caution could reel them back. He looked up, a flush creeping up his neck, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the green of his eyes, the part in his hair where sunlight pooled. Then he stood, offering a hand to pull me up, our palms clasping longer than necessary, rough calluses meeting smooth skin in a grip that promised more than balance. The hike stretched 2 miles, sweat beading on our brows as the sun climbed, turning the trail into a furnace. We talked in rhythms dictated by breath, about his first crush on a boy in middle school, the terror of locker room glances, about my college days in Boston, flirting with a roommate whose laugh haunted me still. You never acted on it, he pressed, voice laced with curiosity, not judgment. I shook my head, kicking a pebble that skittered into a chasm. Fear's a hell of a architect. Builds walls faster than I ever drew blueprints. He stopped at a viewpoint, the valley a symphony of eroded spires, and turned to me fully. Then let's tear them down. Together. The invitation trembled on the edge of something deeper, a romantic undercurrent swirling like the dust devils far below. I nodded, throat dry, and we pressed on, the shared silence companionable, charged. By midday, hunger drove us to a picnic under a lone juniper, sandwiches from the cooler spread on a checkered blanket I'd packed with nostalgic care. Alex lay back, arms behind his head, staring at clouds morphing into fantastical shapes. That one looks like a heart breaking, he murmured. I followed his gaze, seeing instead 2 figures entwined, and chuckled to deflect the ache. Or mending. Conversation meandered to lighter shores, favorite road trip movies, the absurdity of alien abduction tales in Roswell, but beneath it pulsed the gravity of his truth, now ours. As we packed up, a sudden gust whipped the blanket from our hands, sending it tumbling toward the edge. We chased it laughing, bodies colliding in the scramble, my arm around his waist to steady him, his hand on my chest. Time suspended, his breath warm against my collar, eyes locking with an intensity that stole the air. Thanks, he whispered, not pulling away immediately. In that touch, possibility flickered, fragile as the petrified wood we'd traversed, beautiful, enduring, but easily crushed. Afternoon brought us to Flagstaff, a pine-scented haven after the desert scorch. We checked into a cabin-style lodge on the outskirts, its wooden beams groaning under the weight of mountain air. Showers alternated, his first, steam curling under the door like unspoken invitations. Then mine, cold water shocking scents back into my veins. Dinner was at a brewpub downtown, craft beers foaming in mason jars, the hum of locals a buffer against our intensity. Over elk burgers and stories of his track team's antics, Alex's foot brushed mine under the table, accidental at first, then lingering. Sorry, he said, but didn't move it. Neither did I, don't be. The admission hung, electric, as the bartender called last rounds. Walking back under star-pricked skies, the path lit by lodge lanterns, he slipped his hand into mine. A test, a plea. I squeezed, heart hammering, leading him to the porch swing where we sat, rocking gently, the night enveloping us like a confession. You meant what you said earlier, he ventured, head on my shoulder, the weight intimate. About tearing down walls. I nodded into his hair, inhaling the clean scent of pine shampoo. Every word. Vulnerability cracked open then, his body shifting to face me, moonlight carving shadows on his face. Jordan, I think I feel something. For you. Not just as family. The words detonated softly, rewriting the air between us. Panic and desire warred in my chest. This was Alex, my stepson, the kid I'd bandaged and cheered for. Yet here, In the hush of Flagstaff's embrace, he was a man, his lips parted in anticipation, green eyes pleading for reciprocity. I cupped his cheek, thumb tracing the line of his jaw, the gesture paternal morphing into tender. Me too. I breathed, the truth a liberation. Our lips met then, tentative, a brush that deepened into exploration, soft, urgent, tasting of beer and bravery. Fireworks silent but shattering, the kiss a bridge over the abyss we'd skirted. We broke apart breathless, foreheads pressed, the swing creaking like a heartbeat. Is this wrong? He whispered, fear threading his voice. I pulled him closer, arm around his shoulders, the cabin's warmth a sanctuary. Only if we let it be. We're both adults, Alex. And this, it feels right. He nodded, burrowing in, and we stayed like that until dawn's first light, talking in murmurs about boundaries, futures, the road still winding ahead. Sleep came fitful in separate beds, but the divide felt bridged, our truths now intertwined in a tapestry of romance unforeseen. As we loaded the SUV at sunrise, his hand grazed mine over the cooler, a secret smile shared. The Grand Canyon waited, its depths a metaphor for the plunge we'd taken, not into void, but toward light. The South Rim Trail buzzed with tourists as we arrived, the canyon's maw yawning infinite below. We hiked the Bright Angel, descending layer by layer into geologic time, sweat-slicked and exhilarated. Alex's laughter echoed off vermilion walls when I slipped on loose shale, his hand steadying me with a wink that spoke volumes. At a rest stop, perched on a ledge with the Colorado River a silver thread far below, we shared a water bottle, lips meeting the rim where the others had been, a proxy for hunger stirred. This view, he said, gesturing grandly, it's like us. Layered, vast, a little terrifying. I drew him against me, the overlook shielding our embrace from prying eyes. But worth every step. The kiss there was bolder, wind-tousled, sealing our pact amid nature's indifference. Evening found us at a rimside lodge, fire crackling in the hearth as rain pattered the windows. Over stew and cornbread, stories flowed. His dreams of graphic novels featuring queer heroes, my sketches of sustainable homes for marginalized communities. In our room, twin beds pushed together at his suggestion, we explored boundaries with hands and whispers, touches chaste yet charged, building trust brick by tentative brick. I love you, he said in the dark, not specifying the form, but encompassing all. Love you too, I replied, the words a vow. The night deepened our bond. The canyons roar a lullaby to our awakening hearts. Tomorrow, Sedona's red rocks called, promising vortexes of energy to match our own. But with each mile, I wondered, could this fragile flame survive the world's winds? Vortexes swirled invisible in Sedona's red rock cathedrals, or so the locals claimed, magnetic forces pulling at the soul like threads from a loom. We parked at the trailhead for Bell Rock. The formations curve a sinuous invitation under a sky of unblemished blue. After the Grand Canyon's grandeur, this felt intimate, almost conspiratorial, the rust-hued spires guardians to our secret. Alex laced his boots with deliberate care, his fingers lingering on the ties as if grounding himself for the energy ahead. Last night's closeness replayed in my mind. The press of his body in sleep, the soft sighs that blurred lines of kinship into something achingly personal. Ready to get spun? He teased, bumping my shoulder, his grin boyish yet knowing. I ruffled his hair, the gesture affectionate, pulling him into a quick hug that ended with lips grazing temples. Lead on, Vortex Whisperer. The path wound upward, scrub oak and prickly pear framing views of distant monoliths, cathedral rock spires like prayers petrified. Sweat beaded on Alex's forehead, his tea clinging to the lean lines of his torso, drawing my gaze despite resolve. We paused at a saddle, wind whispering through junipers, and he spun dramatically, arms outstretched. Feel that? The pull. His laughter bubbled free, infectious, easing the undercurrent of tension. I joined him, our hands clasping in a dizzying twirl, bodies colliding with mock clumsiness that dissolved into real embrace. Against the rock's warm flank, hidden from the trail, our kiss ignited. Fiercer now, tongues tentative explorers, hands mapping contours with reverence. God, Jordan, he gasped, pulling back flushed, this place. It's amplifying everything. I traced his collarbone, pulse racing. Or maybe it's just us. Descending, conversation turned confessional again, the vortex myth loosening tongues. Remember that summer camp in the Adirondacks? Alex asked, voice light but edged. The one Mom made us go to? I kissed a counselor there. First time. Thought I'd explode from the secret. Images flooded. Him at 14, returning sun-kissed and withdrawn, chalking it up to homesickness. Wish I'd known, I said, regret thick. Could have been there for you. He stopped, turning to face me, hands on my arms. You are now? That's what counts. The trail blurred as emotion surged, our foreheads touching, breaths mingling in a vow unspoken. Sedona's magic, real or imagined, wove us tighter, the romantic underbelly of our journey blooming like desert wildflowers after rain. Lunch at a creekside cafe in town, organic salads with quinoa and goat cheese, worlds away from diner fare, afforded a moment's normalcy. Tourists milled, oblivious to the electricity arcing between us across the wrought iron table. Alex's foot hooked mine under the shade of an umbrella, a subtle anchor. After Berkeley, what for you? He probed, spearing a cherry tomato. I pondered, Fort paused. Maybe a firm in San Francisco. Closer to you. Design space is that. Welcome, everyone. His eyes lit, approval warm. Like a queer-friendly co-op? You'd kill that. Pride swelled, mingled with the thrill of futures entwined. As we paid, his hand brushed my lower back, guiding me out. A lover's touch disguised as casual, sending shivers despite the heat. Afternoon led to a vortex tour, a new age guide in flowing linens leading us to energy sites where crystals hummed and chakras allegedly aligned. We exchanged amused glances during meditations, but beneath the skepticism, something shifted. Sitting cross-legged on red dirt, eyes closed, I felt it, a tug not mystical, but visceral, toward Alex, his knee against mine, the rhythm of his breath syncing with mine. When the group dispersed, we lingered, palms pressed to earth. Believe in it now? He whispered, fingers intertwining with mine below the horizon. And you? Absolutely. The kiss that followed was languid, sun-warmed, tasting of possibility. Hiking back, hand in hand until voices neared, we sealed our pact. This love, nascent and taboo, deserved exploration, not erasure. Sunset found us at a spa overlook, soaking in a hot tub carved into the rock face, steam rising like offerings. The lodge had upgraded us to a private suite. King bed, fireplace crackling, after a mix-up, but we knew intuition when it winked. Bubbles masked our proximity, his leg draped over mine underwater, toes tracing calves. Tell me of fear, he murmured, head on my shoulder, the valley aglow below. Losing you to this, I admitted, voice low. The world judging, pulling us apart. He lifted my chin, eyes fierce. Then we fight. Together. His lips claimed mine, water sloshing as bodies pressed, the kiss evolving into caresses, shirts discarded, skin slick and seeking. We retreated to the suite before temptation crested, toweling dry in the firelight, bodies humming with restraint. That night, under downy quilts, we made love slowly, reverently. Explorations gentle, gasps muffled in pillows, each touch a affirmation of truths embraced. Dawn broke with him curled against me, auburn hair splayed, and I knew, nothing would sever this. Leaving Sedona, the SUV devoured miles toward California's border, the Mojaves shimmer a haze on the horizon. Alex drove, humming softly, his bracelet glinting, a talisman from our first stop. Conversation drifted to family, Elena's upcoming visit, the awkward call we'd make. She'll get it, he assured, hand on my thigh. Mom sensed these things. Doubt nagged. Her free spirit clashed with my grounded fears, but his faith bolstered. A rest stop near Needles brought flat tires and frustration, the jack slipping twice before I cursed. Alex knelt beside, steadying it, our hands grease-streaked and linked. Teamwork, he grinned, and the fix became foreplay, stolen kisses amid tools. Back on blacktop, radio crooning ballads of redemption, the incident bonded us further, resilience forged in mundane trials. Night fell in Barstow, a no-frills motel with a pool glowing turquoise. Dinner at a taqueria, carne asada tacos dripping lime, sparked debates on life's detours. This trip's ours, he declared, sauce on his chin. No reroutes. I wiped it away, thumb lingering, the gesture intimate. In the room, thunder rumbled distant, rain sheeting windows as we showered together for the first time, water cascading, bodies aligning under spray, soap-slick hands learning curves. It was baptismal, washing away hesitations, culminating in bed with urgency tempered by tenderness. Afterward, limbs entangled, he traced my scars, appendectomy, a bar fight folly. Stories, he said softly. Ours now. Sleep claimed us to lightning's flash, the storm mirroring our passion's tumult. Morning promised Joshua Tree, twisted trees like arthritic dancers, but with Alex's head on my chest, the future gleamed unshadowed. Joshua Tree's yucca blooms nodded in breeze as we wandered Keys, the park's alien landscape a fitting stage for our metamorphosis. Trails looped through cholla cactus groves, spines glinting warnings we ignored, hands brushing covertly. At a boulder perch, overlooking Hidden Valley, Alex pulled me down, straddling my lap in seclusion. Here, he breathed, we're infinite. The makeout session was fervent, rocks digging backs, but ecstasy drowned discomfort. Descending, flushed and disheveled, we laughed at near misses with hikers, adrenaline sharpening appetites. Picnic under a lone Joshua, cheese, figs, wine from a thermos, turned philosophical, identity's fluidity, love's defiance. You're my anchor, he confessed, feeding me a grape. And you, my sail. I replied, sealing with wine-kissed lips. As shadows lengthened, the park expelled us, but its wild spirit lingered, fueling the drive to Palm Springs. Palm Springs shimmered like a mirage made manifest, mid-century moderns gleaming white against palm-frond streets, a queer haven where rainbow flags fluttered unapologetically from bungalows. We'd arrived at dusk, the SUV's tires humming over boulevards lined with date palms, Alex's excitement palpable as he pointed out vintage motels reborn as boutique escapes. This is it, he said, voice alight, the gay mecca. Feels like coming home. After Joshua Tree's stark isolation, the oasis buzzed with promise, pool parties in the distance, laughter spilling from sidewalk cafes. I booked us a casita at a retro resort, adobe walls enclosing a private courtyard with a bubbling fountain and citrus trees heavy with fruit. As we unloaded, his hand slipped into mine behind the tailgate, a bold claim in this liberated air. Our bubble, he murmured, and I pulled him close, kissing under the stars in different gaze. Unpacking was ritual, his sketchpad on the nightstand, my architecture journals beside it, clothes mingled in drawers like lives converging. Dinner at a desert-chic spot, grilled octopus, heirloom tomatoes drizzled in balsamic. Overlooked the San Jacinto Mountains, their peaks silhouettes against twilight. Wine flowed, loosening tongues. Alex regaled with tales of online crushes gone awry, his vulnerability endearing. Riley hurt, but you heal. Across the candlelit table, my foot traced his ankle, a subtle Morse code of desire. To healing, I toasted, clinking glasses, the claret rich as our unfolding story. Strolling back, arms linked, we passed couples of every stripe. Men hand in hand, women entwined. Normalcy a balm to my lingering doubts. In the courtyard, fountains murmur masking moans. We made love on a chaise lounge, bodies arching under moonwash. The night air cool on fevered skin. Morning brought poolside lounging, sunscreen slathered and sun-kissed. Alex's swim trunks riding low on hips that begged tracing. He dove in with a whoop, water arcing like joy, emerging to shake droplets from lashes. Join me. Eyes mischievous, he extended a hand. I dove, the plunge symbolic, surfacing to his splash war, laughter echoing off palms, bodies colliding in playful tussles that evolved into submerged caresses. A family nearby glanced, but here, in Palm Springs' embrace, judgment dissolved like salt in waves. Drying on towels, his head in my lap, we plotted the day. Aerial tramway to MT San Jacinto, elevation's thrill mirroring our ascent. Higher ground, he quipped, fingers interlacing with mine. The tram whisked us upward, glass cars swaying through chasms, desert floor receding to toy scale. At the summit, pine-scented trails beckoned, wildflowers nodding in alpine breeze. We hiked the Devil's Slide, a vertiginous path hugging cliffs, Alex's agility outpacing my caution. Pausing at a vista, wind whipping hair, he turned, backing me against rock. Scared of heights. Lips hovered near mine. Only falling without you. The kiss was wind-lashed, urgent, hands roaming under jackets as clouds scudded overhead. Lunch at the Summit Cafe, trout almondine, views infinite, sparked dreams. A life here, perhaps, designing eco-lodges for wanderers like us. With a studio for your art, I added, envisioning sunlit rooms filled with his visions. His smile dazzled. Deal. Descending, euphoria lingered. The trams drop a metaphor for surrender's grace. Afternoon wild in uptown Palm Springs, boutiques hawking retro prints and leather goods. Alex tried on a fedora in a haberdashery, tilting it rakishly. Your style? I smirked, adjusting the brim, fingers lingering on his neck. Ours. Purchases bagged. A leather journal for him. A silk scarf for me. We wandered to a gelato shop, pistachio and stracciatella melting on tongues as benches hosted flirtations. An older couple nodded approval at our clasped hands, their rings glinting solidarity. See? The world's bigger than fear. His words, simple, dismantled my last barricades. Back at the casita, siesta turned sensual. Lazy afternoons abed, sheets tangled, explorations deepening intimacy's lexicon. Whispers of names, gasps of discovery, bodies sinking like gears long misaligned. Evening's main drag pulsed with life. Drag brunch echoes fading into sunset mixers. We opted low-key, a wine bar with jazz trio, saxophones wailing heartbreak and hope. Sipping Cabernet, thighs pressed under the bar, Alex leaned in. Thank you. For seeing me. Emotion choked me. I kissed his temple. For being seen. The night culminated in a drive-in theater on the outskirts. Classic cars parked under stars. Brokeback Mountain, flickering on screen. A meta mirror shattering and mending. Midway, his hand in mine over the console. Tears tracked my cheeks not for Ennis and Jack, but for us, survivors scripting our own ending. Post-credits. In the SUV's shadowed interior, passion-crested, seats reclined, windows fogged, love-making raw and redemptive. The film's echoes in every thrust, every endearment. Dawn's light filtered through citrus leaves as we breakfasted on the patio. Oranges fresh squeezed, croissants flaky. Conversation turned practical. Elena's reaction, societal stares. We'll face it, he vowed, squeezing my hand. Stronger together. Loading up, Palm Springs receded, but its liberation infused us. The SUV pointed west to Los Angeles' sprawl. Traffic thickened on I-10, Angelino's honking symphonies, but Alex's playlist, indie anthems of queer anthems, drowned discord. We detoured to Venice Beach, boardwalk teeming with skaters and street performers, rainbow murals cheering our passage. Muscle Beach's iron pumpers drew his gaze appreciatively. I feigned jealousy, earning a playful shove. Eyes for you only. Lunch at a taco truck. Al Pastor sizzling. On the sand, waves lapping toes, we built sandcastles ephemeral as doubts. Afternoon Santa Monica Pier spun Ferris wheel lights early, cotton candy sweetness on breaths, as we rode to the top, cityscape sprawling below. At apex, arms around waists, he murmured, "This is our kingdom." Kiss sweetened by sugar, panoramic promise. Sunset Boulevard called next, Hollywood's gloss a counterpoint to our authenticity. We hiked Runyon Canyon at golden hour, trails thronged but our bubble intact, stolen glances, whispered affections amid influencers' poses. Cresting, LA's basin glittered, a concrete seaweed navigate. Dinner in West Hollywood, sushi rolls artful as his sketches, at a WeHo spot pulsing with unapologetic gay energy. Pride swelled watching him bloom, ordering with confidence, flirting back at the waiter with my blessing. Your world, I said. Our conquest. Knight's Hotel in Beverly Hills, suite with balcony overlooking lights, hosted revelry. Room service champagne, baths drawn with salts, bodies slick in candlelight. Love unfolded unhurried. Every caress a chapter, climax a crescendo of mutual surrender. Postcoital, balcony perch, city hum below, he nestled close. Forever, voice small, as long as roads lead us. Sleep came deep, dreams of endless highways. Morning's Hollywood sign loomed, a beacon of reinvention, mirroring our arc. With LA behind, Big Sur beckoned, coastal cliffs, ocean's roar promising catharsis. Big Sur's cliffs plunged defiant into the Pacific, waves crashing like applause for our audacity. The SUV hugging Highway 1's serpentine curves with precarious grace. Palm Springs' urban pulse faded in the rear view, replaced by this raw wilderness, redwood sentinel, fog-veiling coves like secrets half-kept. Alex navigated the drops, his focus laser-sharp, one hand on the wheel, the other occasionally drifting to my knee, a tether amid vertigo. Beautiful terror, he commented, eyes on the abyss where sea met sky. I nodded, wind through cracked windows tousling his hair. Like us. The quip masked the truth. Our love, born of revelation, teetered on edges sharp as these switchbacks, demanding vigilance lest it plummet. We stopped at Bixby Bridge, its arch a concrete him-spanning chasm, photo ops drawing us out into brine-scented air. Leaning on the rail, arms brushing, we gazed at surf exploding white below. Jump, he joked, nudging me. Only with parachute, you. Laughter dissolved into kiss, swift but searing, tourist chatter a distant hum. Resuming, Pfeiffer Beach's purple sands lured, keyhole arch framing ocean's fury. We stripped to trunks, dashing into chill waves, bodies colliding in foam, his whoops mingling with gulls. Toweling on driftwood, salt-crusted and shivering. He pulled me down, blanket-shared warmth evolving to nuzzles, hands wandering paths worn familiar, yet thrilling. Wild here, he breathed, lips on neck. Free. Lunch at a roadside stand, clam chowder and sourdough bowls, steam rising like hearth fires. Fueled afternoons Julia Pfeiffer Burns hike, trail to McWay Falls where water met beach in turquoise pool. Mist-kissed path wound through ferns, his hand in mine until boardwalks demanded release. At the overlook, cascade silver against cliffs, he turned, backing me to rail. Eternal, he whispered, our kiss mist-shrouded, passion's heat defying damp. Like this. Descending, euphoria buzzed, the falls roar echoing heartbeats. Nepenthe for sunset, cliffside perch, ambrosia burgers juicy, views swallowing sun into sea. wine-warmed veins, toasts to resilience, to truths that bind. His foot hooked mine under table, promise unspoken. Night's Ventana Wilderness Lodge, yurts canvas-domed, stars pinpricks overhead, isolated us in luxury primal. Fire pit crackled as we roasted marshmallows, gooey sweetness on fingers licked clean, gazes locking over flames. Inside, lantern lit, we undressed slowly, shadows dancing walls, bodies joining in rhythm tidal, waves of touch cresting, receding, building to ecstasy's breakers. Afterward, cocooned in furs, he traced my chest. Scars tell stories. Ours rewrite them. Sleep to ocean's lullaby, dreams of boundless horizons. Dawn's hike to Tambark Flat, dew-jeweled trails, his silhouette ahead, poetry in motion. Breakfast picnic, berries, yogurt, amid meadows, conversation delving, societal pressures, Elena's pending call. She'll understand, he insisted. Love like this, undeniable. Pushing north, Monterey's aquarium gleamed oceanic wonders, kelp forests swaying, otters tumbling playful. Alex pressed a glass, awe childlike. Underwater worlds, he marveled. Hidden lives. My arm around waist, subtle, echoed sentiment. Lunch at Cannery Row, Chipino briny, Steinbeck's ghosts lingering, sparked literary detours, his passion for narratives queer-infused. Afternoon's 17-mile drive wound Carmel coast, cypress lone against dunes, stopping at Pebble Beach for skips, stones glancing water, wishes unspoken. His skipped farthest, grin triumphant. Lux with us. Kiss sealed, windswept, affirming. Evening in Carmel by the sea, fairy tale cottages, dinner at a bistro, scallops seared, candlelight gilding features. Post-meal stroll, galleries browsed, his eye for art mirroring mine for structure. Build with me, he asked, fingering a sculpture. Always. San Francisco approached, golden gates spanned a gateway gleaming. Crossing at twilight, fog tendrils welcoming, Alex hooped, handout window. Homeward, city lights twinkled below, Castro's neon calling. We checked into a Haight-Ashbury Victorian, bay windows framing views, clawfoot tub steaming. Dinner at a dim sum house in Chinatown. Pot stickers crisp, Hargao translucent. Then wander to the Castro, rainbows arching streets, clubs thumping bass. Hand in hand open, we dance street-side, bodies swaying sync, acceptance enveloping. This, he said, spinning me, is liberation. Bar hop light, martini sharp, laughter loose, culminated in alleyway kiss, passionate, unheated. Back to the room, tub shared, bubbles foaming intimacies, transitioning to bed's fervor, positions novel, cries muffled in pillows, union profound. Morning's Alcatraz ferry cut bay chop, islands chill evoking confinement's past. Tore through cells, echoes of isolation, his hand squeezing mine in shadowed corridors. We escaped ours, whisper shared. Lunch at Fisherman's Wharf, sourdough crab, gulls wheeling, eased gravity. Afternoon's Coit Tower murals, Depression-era frescoes of labor's dignity, inspired sketches in his pad, my annotations dreaming public spaces inclusive. Your legacy, he encouraged. Golden Gate Park's botanical gardens next, paths meandering conservatories, exotic blooms mirroring diversity. Under Japanese tea gardens pagoda, tea sipped serene, he knelt mock proposal, ringless finger offered. Promise, tears pricked. Eternally, kiss cherry blossom soft. Evening's symphony at Davies Hall, Mahler's Resurrection, strings soaring redemption, moved us to chills, intermission hands clasped. Post-concert, Mission District's taqueria, burritos foil-wrapped, salsa fiery, fueled nightcap at a speakeasy, jazz liquid smoke. Return yielded slow burn. Massages mutual, oils slick, arousal building to climax symphonic. Dawn's foghorn waked us, body spent sated. With San Francisco's spirit infused, the road looped south, homeward bound, but transformed. Elena's call loomed, bridge to confrontation. Yosemite's granite monoliths rose like cathedrals of stone, El Capitan's face sheer and unyielding, a mirror to the cliff's weed scaled in heart and hand. Leaving San Francisco's urban embrace, Highway 120 twisted through foothills greening to alpine meadows. Alex's playlist shifting to folk troubadours singing of mountain highs and valley lows. His hand rested on my thigh, thumbs circling lazy patterns, the gesture now habit, comfort's evolution to craving. Last big push, he noted, eyes on rear view as the bay receded. I squeezed his knee. Then reality. The word hung heavy. Elena, society, the inexorable pull of Queens concrete. But Yosemite promised respite, a verdant pause before the plunge. Glacier Point's overlook stunned, Half-Dome's dome curved defiant against azure sky. Yosemite Valley a green trough far below. We picnicked on granite, salami, brie, apples crisp, legs dangling edge, Vertigo's thrill in veins. Leap of faith, he said, leaning into me. Kiss followed, wind-whipped, hands anchoring hips. We've leaped plenty. Trail to Sentinel Dome looped panoramas, wildflowers nodding approval, his camera capturing us mid-embrace, candid eternity. Lunch at Curry Village. Pizza wood-fired, tents pitched nearby. Evoked camping youth, stories swapped of tent mishaps, his first crush under stars. You were my North Star. Confession soft. Emotions surged. I pulled him close, diner din fading. Afternoon's mist trail climbed vernal fall, mist sheeting faces, rainbows arcing spray. Slippery steps demanded focus, his hand mine lifeline, laughter at stumbles bonding. At the top, pool emerald, we stripped to skivvies, diving chill embrace, bodies splashing joy. Emerging dripping, towel shared, caresses heated despite cold. Alive, he gasped, lips blue-tinged meeting mine. Evening's Awani Hotel, beams beamed historic, dinner elegant, trout mouniere, wine velvety. Postre, stroll meadows moonlit, deer grazing silent. Back to room, four-poster bed inviting, love-making leisurely, fingers interlacing, gazes locked, union whispered vows. Dawn's mirror lake reflected peaks pristine, rowboat rented gliding glass. Paddles dipped sink, his back to me rowing, muscles flexing poetry. Beaching, hike to base of Upper Yosemite Fall, thunderous cascade drowning doubts. Power, he yelled over roar, arms wide. I hugged from behind, chin on shoulder. Hours. Lunch trail mix shared, conversation to future, joint life, perhaps Portland's reigns, creative hubs. Adopted family, he mused. Better than blood. Tioga Pass beckoned, Alpine crossing to Eastern Sierra, meadows lupin-laced. Stop at Tuolumne, meadows vast, he sketched, I planned. Homes fluid, identities fluid. Night in Lee Vining, Bodie ghost town tour by day, abandoned mines, saloons frozen time. Echoes of gold rush folly-warned hubris, but our gold? Priceless. Dinner at a lakeside grill. Mono Lake's Tufa Towers silhouetted, trout grilled, beers cold. Campfire later, lakeside, Esmore sticky, ghost stories eliciting shivers clung to. Tint pitched, sleeping bags zipped tandem, stars wheeling overhead, passion ignited by flames memory. Touches urgent, cries Cody called. Morning's drive to Tahoe, blues crystalline, cabin rented lakeside. Kayaks rented, tandem paddling harmony, races playful ending capsizes, laughter wet. Lunch picnic, sandwiches, lake trout smoked. On shore, sunbathing bodies oiled, hands roaming lazy. Afternoon's Emerald Bay hike, Viking's home stone Norse, waters Viking blue. His Nordic heritage teased, braid feigned in hair. My warrior. Kiss Bayviewed, eagles soaring witness. Evening's bonfire, locals guitars strumming, we danced sandsoft, bodies pressed rhythm. Dinner in, steaks seared, wine decanted, meal foreplay to bed's blaze. Positions adventurous, abandoned lake echoed. Dawn swim, nude plunge cold invigorating, bodies buoyant, floating entwined. With Tahoe's serenity banked, Reno's neon neared. Divorce capital irony, our union forging. Reno's casinos chimed hollow promises, but we bypassed for Virginia City's saloons, silver rush relics. Whiskey neat, poker hands bluffing, his winds crowed. Lady Luck's mine. Luck's us. Lunch miners stew hearty, mine tours claustrophobic mirroring past closets. Afternoon's Tahoe loop, drive scenic, stops for photos. Us framed mountains, love's portrait. Night's hair is sweet, slots ignored for jacuzzi jets, bubbles masking moans, transitioning to silk sheet slide. Love making luxurious, toys from kit discreet, vibrations humming harmonies. Post, balcony smoke trails, city lights below, he queried, regrets? None. You. Bliss. Utah's salt flats loomed, Bonneville's wide expanse speedway. We raced barefoot, echoes empty, his sprint victorious, tackle playful tumbling. Lunch truck stop, chili verde spicy, fueled Great Basin's lonelies, ghost roads evoking introspection. This emptiness, he pondered, fills me. Handheld, silence golden. Night in Ely, Basque diner. Lamb stew robust. Then stargazing dome, cosmos vast, his head lap rest, fingers combed. Universe hours. Dawn's drive to Zion, reds flaming. Zion's narrows weighted. Virgin River chill ankle deep, slot canyons towering. His hand pulled through currents, currents our own. Lunch riverside. Raps fresh. Talk of Elena. Call scripted, truths tiered. She'll embrace. Angels landing ascended. Chains gripped white-knuckled. Summit views apocalyptic. At top, vertigo conquered. Embrace triumphant. Kiss cloud-kissed. Angels indeed. Evening Springdale Inn. Spa soak mineral. Massages mutual easing. Dinner farm to table. Quail roasted. Wine pairing confessions. Beds vigil. touches tinder, sleep storm-lashed. Arches fins arched red against Utah's unrelenting sun. Delicate arches curve a bowstring drawn taut, ready to loose arrows of revelation. From Zion's verdant confines, we'd veered into this arid altar, the SUV's AC blasting defiance at heat waves dancing pavement. Alex navigated the park roads with map app glow on his phone, but his true guide was instinct now. Ours, honed by miles and murmurs. Last wild stretch, he said, voice threaded with reluctance, as if the desert sensed our impending return to civilization's scrutiny. I glanced at him, profile sharp against sandstone bluffs, and felt the pull, not just to preserve this bubble, but to burst it wide, claiming our love under open skies. Elena's call had come at dawn in Springdale, her voice warm, probing, accepting when truths tumbled. Be happy, she'd said, tears mutual. Both of you. The absolution lightened loads, but the road home still whispered warnings. We hiked to Landscape Arch. It spanned a fragile miracle over void, boots scuffing crypto soil. Pausing in shade of pinyon, water shared from canteen, lips meeting metal where his had been, intimacy's shorthand. Think it'll hold? He asked, gesturing the span. Like us? I replied, pulling him close, kiss shaded, hands framing face. Bend, don't break. Further in, Devil's Garden looped, fins clawing sky, his camera clicking compositions, arches framing horizons, us framed within. Lunch at a pullout, cooler rated, turkey clubs on pita, amid junipers, conversation circling futures, my firm pitch for queer-inclusive designs, his graphic novel pitch to indie presses. Collaborators, he grinned, mustard-dabbed kiss stolen. Afternoon's Corona Arch Trail descended slick rock, chains aiding scramble, his agility goat-like, mind steadying pulls. At the arch, underside cool, we sat legs dangling, canyons maw indifferent. Echo, he called, voice bouncing. I joined, names intertwined reverberating. Jordan Alex, love's litany. Laughter echoed, then silence sacred, his head shoulder nestled. Grateful, whisper shared. Transformed. Drive-out yielded sunset alchemy, rocks aflame, Moab's lights twinkling welcome. Dinner at a brew pub, green chili pork, IPAs hoppy. Locals' tales of canyons conquered inspiring toasts. Night's motel adobe, pool-dipped moonlit, strokes synchronized, bodies brushing purposeful. Rooms adobe thick muting cries, love-making fervent. Arches of back, spans of sigh, union arched eternal. Morning's canyonlands overlook, Mesa's mesa-layered infinite, wind-sculpted faces. Maze District's twisty paths mirror journeys inward, his hand mine through labyrinths. Lunch overlook picnic, hummus, carrots crunch, views swallowing bites. Endless, he marveled. Our story. Colorado River overlook next, green ribbon carving rust, rafts dotting like adventurers' kin. Afternoon's Dead Horse Point, precipice named grim but views vital, canyon confluence serpentine. At edge, Vertigo's kiss, embrace anchoring. Live horses us. Drive to Grand Junction, orchards blooming defiant desert. Night's vineyard stay, wine tour barrels aged, tastings heady, cabernets bold, Viogniers floral. Dinner pairing, lamb rack, risotto creamy, sparked vineyard dreams. Wedding there? Hypothetical blushed. Sweets balcony, grapes heavy air, slow dance to crickets, bodies sway sink. Beds vintage four-poster, sheets linen cool, explorations vintage tender, fingers vintage wine tracing, climaxes cork popped. Dawn's harvest walk, grapes crushed feet stained, laughter juice splat. With Rockies calling, Denver's mile high awaited, urban interlude. Denver's Lodo buzzed craft brews, but we sought gardens, botanic elms shading, perennials riot. Lunch food hall, tacos burria, ramen slurpee, fueled afternoons Red Rocks amphitheater, Stone's concert hall's natural. Hike formations, echoes tested, his falsetto fooling. Encore, kiss demanded. Evening's brewery crawl, stouts robust, sours tart, tipsy truths, vulnerabilities bared, strengths affirmed. Night's boutique hotel, rooftop bar cityscape, cocktails clinking packs. Rooms city hum lullaby, passion urban urgent, position skyline framed, gasped traffic mast. Kansas plains unspooled golden, wheat seas waving. 70 straight, as resolve. Alex drove stretches, my naps lap pillowed. Lunch farm stand, corn grilled, pies lattice, evoked heartland roots, his upstate farms nostalgic. Afternoons Flint Hills, grasses tall undulating, bison herds primal. America's breadbasket, he noted. Feeds body, we feed souls. Stop at a monument, tallgrass prairie, winds whispering ancestors. Evenings Topeka Inn, dinner steakhouse, filet rare, potatoes loaded, talk of home. Apartment upgrades, coming outs communal. Beds prairie quiet, love-making grounded. Earth rhythms, harvest yields. Missouri's Ozarks rolled hillied, rivers threading green. Branson's show skipped for riverside cabin, kayaks rented lazy. Lunch picnic, fried chicken, slaw, dockside, ducks quacking approval. Afternoon's table rock lake, swims cooling, cannonballs splashing joy. Evening's grill, ribs smoked slow, porch swing rocking, fireflies signaling. Night's loft bed, lofts high, bodies lofted ecstasy, stars through skylight witnesses. Illinois' cornfields marched, Chicago's skyline tease. Indiana's dunes golden, Lake Michigan lapping, trails boardwalked. Lunch beachside, perch fried, fries crisp, sand between toes. Afternoon's lighthouse climb, views watery vast, kiss beacon lit. Evening's South Bend, Notre Dame spires Gothic, campus strolled reflective. Dinner pub, Irish stew, Guinness foamy, youth tales swapped. Night's lakeside motel, waves cradle, passion tidal, crests crashing, troughs tender. Ohio's Rust Belt whispered resilience, Cleveland's Rock Hall inducting. Pennsylvania's Appalachians folded ancient, leaves turning amber early. Stop at Falling Water, writes Cascade House, my architect's soul stirred. Tour inspired, his sketches flowing. Lunch cafe, quiches flaky, discussing builds organic. Afternoons Alleghenies Drive, vistas layered. Evenings Pittsburgh, bridges lit golden, dinner riverside, pierogies stuffed, beers local. Nights incline ride, city below twinkling, rooms overlook, love-making bridged, spans crossed, arches embraced. New York's Hudson Valley gilded autumnal, leaves pyre crimson. Last hike breakneck ridge, scrambles heart-pounding, summit views Catskills hazy. Lunch trail, energy bars, apples, victory savored. Afternoons West Point, history martial, parades crisp. Evenings beacon, Diaz art vast, installations immersive. Dinner farm, venison, foraged mushrooms, wine Hudson. Nights in Riverside, currents rush, passion flowing. Eddies explored, confluences merged. Final stretch 80 to Queens, bridges spanning final chasms. Alex's hand-mine constant, playlist closing anthems. Nothing the same, he echoed title, smile soft. Home skyline rose familiar yet new, apartment lights welcoming. Unloading, Elena's hug enveloping, tears joys. My boys, she beamed. Dinner family, lasagna baked, wine toasts, truths aired, acceptances sealed. Bed that night, our room now ours, bodies home. Gentle, grateful, Genesis. Months blurred, my designs queer community centered, his novel published indie. Our story veiled, hearts bare. Challenges came, stairs, questions, but love's road, long and winding, proved navigable. In quiet moments, his head my chest, I whispered, revealed and reborn. He smiled, green eye stars. Nothing the same, and everything right. The journey's end? Merely a turn, toward horizons endless. Truth's our compass, love the eternal drive.